Look at that. That is so crazy. Have you ever seen anything like this? Oh my goodness. This is so bizarre. It just doesn't make any sense. This ceiling is live, and we're here to investigate. Let's see what we can find. So Alan's called us out here because he's having some building work done here in the garage, and the builder was stripping a few things out and then noticed that the ceiling appears to be live, and obviously that's raised alarm bells. So this is Hacker the builder. Tell us what happened, Hacker.
Yeah, we just started yesterday to put some new installation on the ceiling, and then I realized there is my detector is touched on the ceiling, and then there's a light in there, and then I check everywhere, like a power, like electrics.
Well, you did the right thing to stop the work, because you don't want anyone getting electrocuted. So I'm going to get my tester out, and we're going to see what we can find. So the first thing I want to do, obviously, is this voltage detector it's just an indicator, right? So sometimes they can give false readings or something like that. And it's literally everywhere, right, on the ceiling. So that is definitely worrying. You know, if I check this wall, it's okay. Obviously that should be live, that's correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a proper voltage indicator here, and I'm going to test from the earth to the ceiling and see if we've got any voltage. And actually we don't. Let's test here with the earth on the lighting circuit and then the plasterboard. And again, nothing. Let's check on the neutral. Okay, still nothing. Let's check on the live. So, doesn't seem like there's any kind of high voltage here on the ceiling, but there's obviously enough to trigger the voltage detector. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an insulation resistance test. We'll put some power into the circuit and see if there are any short circuits within the cabling. You might wonder, well, if there is some earth leakage on this circuit, why is it not tripping? And the reason is that actually the lighting circuits are not protected by an RCD. Only the sockets, I think, and the shower are protected by an RCD, because this is quite an old consumer unit. Oh wow, check that out for a neat or not neat. That's actually very nice and neat. The first thing we'll check actually is when we turn it off, does the electricity on the ceiling go off? And it does. So it's clearly something with this lighting circuit for the downstairs. When we do an insulation test, what we do is remove the neutral from the neutral bar, just so that we don't get any false readings from any other circuits. Get the neutral out. I'm going to get the CPC out as well, which is this one here. And then we can do a true insulation test without any interference from any of the other circuits. So I'm going to test from live to earth first of all. And I'm just testing at 230 volts. And actually there's a very high resistance. In other words, there's no kind of short circuit between the live and the earth. But let's try between the neutral and the earth. Okay, so we've also got high resistance there. So according to this, everything seems like it should be fine. Test between live and neutral, and we should have basically a dead short, which is what we've got. We've got 0.04 mega ohms. That all seems fine. Just doesn't make any sense. What was here before? Was there a light on here or something?
We didn't know, I don't know honestly.
So we don't know what those do. They do look like lighting cables. Could it be something to do with the boiler maybe? That's something we've experienced before, is problems with boilers not being wired up right, and actually that causing issues. This boiler might actually be on the lighting circuit. I'm going to up the voltage on this test to 500 volts, and I'm just going to put line and neutral together and test them both to the earth. Yeah, it's still all clear, but it could be that when we turn the circuit off, the item that's got the fault in it is disconnected, and therefore the fault doesn't show anymore. Yeah, that's on at the moment. Try that. Okay, still on. So actually the boiler is not on this circuit, so that eliminates that. So weird. Right, let's go back to basics here. We're testing to earth, but there's no voltage. But what if the earth is disconnected, or there's some kind of fault on the mains? So what we're going to do is we're going to do an external earth fault loop impedance and actually check that this whole house is earthed properly. That might be the cause of the issue. This could be the problem. We got 0.51, which is quite high, assuming that it's a TNCS system, which it probably is here. So that's where you've got combined neutral and earth. Is the meter box just around here? Okay. Everything looks okay here. It is a TNCS system, so we'd be looking for a ZE of less than 0.35 ohms, and it looks like it is actually higher than that. So that's the next thing we need to check. This reading should be less than 0.35 and it's 0.58. So it is too high, which means we actually need to call UK Power Networks and report this to them. That shouldn't be causing this whole ceiling to appear to be live. So there's still something else not right. In fact, I'll just null out my leads just in case. Okay, now this looks like there's a problem with my leads. I think I picked up one of Luke's dodgy leads. Put that in the bin right away. Let's try again. Much better. Okay, well that saves an embarrassing call to UK Power Networks, but that still doesn't solve our fault. Let's see what voltage we've got on the earth compared to true earth. Okay, we've got 50 volts, not normal. And there we've got 120 volts. We've got nothing between neutral and earth. There might be some kind of weird neutral earth fault, but only when the circuit's turned on, which might indicate a polarity issue. So now what we're going to have to do is what we call an R1 and R2 test. We're going to check every light fitting to see whether the live and neutral or the line and neutral are the right way round or not. So those are linked out, and then at every light we're going to test between live and earth, do a continuity test. All right, so this is what it should look like. So at every light between live and earth there should be a low resistance like this, 0.72. It's confirming that we've got earth continuity, so we do have an earth at this light. Secondly, it's confirming the polarity, that the live and the neutral are not the wrong way around. So that's one light, but we need to check some other lights. Have you had any lights fitted up recently or anything like that?
In the kitchen.
In the kitchen? Yeah. Ah, okay, yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to take one down if that's okay, just have a little look. Okay, it doesn't look too bad to be fair, it actually looks like it's been done properly. Okay, that's a very high resistance there. It's bizarre because when you're testing a dimmer, sometimes the resistance can be quite high because that's how a dimmer works, is it basically puts resistance onto the circuit. I think I'm going to have to take the dimmer off, bridge it out, and then see what we get. So we've got an earth here, so that's good. Polarity's correct here. So now that we've bridged those out, we should have a low resistance at our light fitting. Yeah, much better. So we've got like 1.2 ohms, which means that we do have earth continuity here, and the polarity is correct. So the plot thickens. Okay, yeah, you've got a lot of metal lights everywhere, which, yeah, I've got an idea. It might be that we've got a neutral issue. When you turn the light on, it's going to short out properly. I mean, the breaker is a little bit loose. I don't think that's what's causing the problem, but that might be a side point. It kind of feels like it's better than it was. So what have we changed? We've taken a switch off and a light off and put them back together, but we have turned those lights on now, and they were off before. So, in fact, let's turn that one off. Okay, so when we turn that light off, we don't have the issue. When that light is on, we do have the issue. So there's definitely something weird with that light. Okay, let's try another light. Okay, and that one is flickering quite badly. Okay, and these ones are flickering quite badly as well. Is this what you said about?
No, it wasn't, but not this ones.
No?
No.
Ah, why is this not working? That does these normally, right?
Yeah, that's full on.
Yeah, so why is that not working now? Okay.
It's just on now.
Ah, there we go. Ha, there's something really weird going on here. Oh my goodness. This is crazy. Okay, let's check that circuit breaker, because it might just be a dodgy circuit breaker. Okay, let's try that. Okay, yeah, they're on, but they're very dim. Oh, and now everything's flickering again. This is so bizarre. So the flickering is coming from the circuit breaker. This circuit breaker is definitely a bit dodgy. What I'm going to do is turn this one off, swap into this one for a moment just as a test, and see if that solves the flickering. And they're not, everything is fine. So that circuit breaker is clearly on the blink, it's on its way out, which is why you've been having problems with lights flickering. Doesn't really solve the problem of the voltage on the ceiling for me, but let's check it now and see if it has gone away or not. So we've still got that problem, but it's only when we turn this light on So my next step is just to investigate these lights in here a little bit further. Okay, so that switch looks fine. I'm going to check this switch. I feel like the obvious thing is that there's some kind of nail through a cable in here, but I just don't understand why it's not showing up on any of the tests. All I'm checking really is, are the connections tight? Is there anything obvious like, you know, short in the back of the switch, or, you know, something not wired correctly? But it all looks fine. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, we're on a mission to get to 1 million subscribers. We're a long way off, but every person who hits the subscribe button helps us to get there, so we appreciate you. So I've removed this LED lamp. I'm going to turn the circuit back on now. We still have a problem. So it's actually the fact that the light circuit is switched on is the problem. Look at that. That is so crazy. Have you ever seen anything like this? There's obviously some kind of issue with the switch wires. So it's either that cable from there to there, or the cable from here to the light. So I'm getting desperate at this point, and what I'm going to do is just disconnect these wires and test individually each core. We've got a low reading there. That might just be because of the way that it's connected up here. It's usually something really obvious, guys. That's the thing with fault finding. I'll leave a link up here to a video that I did where there was a fault that was so obvious that I completely missed it. Yeah, we've got very low insulation resistance here between the permanent live coming down to this switch and earth. This one's all clear, right? So everything is all clear apart from this permanent live. Right, let's get scientific for a second. These voltage testers, the sensitivity range is 90 to 1000 volts AC. That means that this is only going to kick off if there's more than 90 volts present. So that means there's 90 volts present on this ceiling when it's going off. So, you know, we're not just talking trickle voltage here, we're talking a serious amount of voltage, which is what I'm so worried about. It's like that's higher than touch voltage, which means that in theory, if somebody touches this ceiling and something else that's earthy, they could get a shock, because anything more than about 50 volts AC, the human body will conduct that and you'll get an electric shock. So we do need to figure out what this is doing, because it is genuinely dangerous and could pose a risk to life. Let me test it with this and see if there's anything coming up with this at all. I mean, it's only detecting like 4 volts. Oh, 18 volts, there we go, right. Yeah, so there's definitely something weird. 19 volts. We need to see what's going on up there, because there's definitely something weird going on. Let's have a look. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of plasterboard under there. Oh, I can't see anything obvious. I've pulled out a couple of clips just to see if if they were clipped badly, but they seem to be fine. This makes no sense, because the plasterboard's not even connected to the main ceiling now. Ah, look at that. Main ceiling. Oh no, main ceiling is still doing it. When I touch it, I'm like earthing it out and the voltage is dropping. And when I let go, the voltage is increasing just enough. It just literally makes no sense. So it is definitely coming from this lighting circuit. The only logical conclusion is there has to be some kind of damage to this cable, but I just don't understand why it's not showing up. I believe that this will be the feed in. So in theory, the fault should be somewhere between here and the consumer unit. Yep, that is the right cable. Okay, so that's our incoming cable. These are dead, which they should be. And now we've got no issues. We're making progress. We have somehow managed to eliminate the problem. But what have we done to eliminate it? We've removed the pendant, the light fitting. Those 3 lives were connected together. We separated them out. So we've turned the breaker off again. Now what I'm going to do is one by one put these back together as they were in the light, but actually I'm just going to use Vargo connectors because it's quick and easy to just go through one by one. The cable that goes down to that switch is disconnected, and basically these two are the only ones that are connected right now. Circuit's dead. This is all dead. No problem. Now we turn this on. We've got power here. Our ceiling is dead. Okay, so we're making progress. Now let's connect this one and see if any problems come back. Okay, so now our switch is connected. Ceiling's live again. So it's got to be something to do with this switch. So that is the permanent live coming down to the switch and the switch live. Disconnect those, turn it back on. No, right. So it's something to do with that two-way switch cable. I've got an idea. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do an insulation test on that cable that goes from there to there. And I've got a feeling we might find a problem with that cable. So that one's all good. That one's all good. That one's all good. That was not what I was hoping to find. My cable seems fine. I don't get it. It must be a nail or a screw or something. That's all it can be, surely, but I just don't understand because it tests out fine. And then I'm going to pop my lamp in there. And now we should have a working light. There we go. And now the ultimate moment of truth. No. Ceiling's still fine. Aha! We have victory! So it is this 3-core cable here. Now, it's not shorting out to earth, but I've got a feeling what's happening is one of these cores is shorted out to a nail in the ceiling, right? I'd really like to find it though. We're at a point where, to be honest, we could just eliminate the two-way switching and the customer has a safe and working installation. But I'm so curious as to what the issue is, and actually they're going to be putting some new insulation over these plasterboards. So the customer very kindly said we can cut a couple more holes and just see if we can find the problem, because at least it'll satisfy our curiosity if nothing else. So we're going to cut a hole here and see what we find, and maybe another one over there. I can see the cable there, but doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it particularly. Seems okay here. We're going to pull the cable out. Oh, it's not very nice, this cable at all. I think that might be the issue, you know. Yeah, look at that, look at that. So, see how blackened that is inside there? I'm stripping the cable back and it's all black inside. That is a dodgy cable. So, I don't know whether the entire cable is faulty and it's been like tracking along the insulation or something. Look at that. It's completely like corroded almost. I feel like it might actually be a manufacturing fault on the cable that's caused the issue. And potentially what's happened is the whole insulation of the cable has actually become live. Yeah, look at that, it's the cable. The entire cable is all black. The insulation of the wires has failed. I'm going to give a free shout out to Doncaster Cables here, right? Because our friend Hacker, he's got good taste in cables. He uses good quality stuff for his customers. Doncaster Cables, amazing quality. We only use them. Buy cheap cables, and often in these houses, this has been like this since it was built, right? But basically they probably were buying cheap cable to build all of these new houses, and they've had one faulty drum of 3-core, and the entire length of this wire has corroded, which says to me that there's some kind of conductivity in the insulation of this cable, which there shouldn't be. And that has caused this issue. And basically the whole sheath of this cable has become live, just enough to leak that voltage to the entire building. All the way along, the wire is black. I think that's the most unusual fault I have ever experienced. That nearly beat me, but we never give up. One new cable. Right, let's put everything back together. So we're going to need a replacement for that circuit breaker. Alan definitely needs an EICR and a consumer unit upgrade, so we'll get that sorted out for him. Let's put this spaghetti back together. So we thought we'd just do one final check before we leave. Just all packed up and ready to go. Still a problem. And my fear is that the entire house has been wired in faulty cable. You're going to have to subscribe to find out more.